Your 20s are some of the best years of your life. You are creating amazing core memories, taking full control of your life, completely spreading your wings and discovering yourself. By the time I was 29, I'd graduated from college with a bachelor's and a master's, secured my dream job as a forensic accountant, making over $100,000 a year, purchased my first home and my dream car, completely living the American dream through strategy and intention. I was able to accomplish all of that because I hit these 4 essential money milestones you'll learn about in this video. And doing all of that wasn't even the best part. It helped me step into my 30s with the financial confidence and comfort the little girl from the inner city could only dream of. Each money milestone is essential, but number 2 was the most impactful by far. By far. But first, allow me to introduce myself. This is Gage Street, your financial safe space. And as for me, I'm a passionate financial strategist, encouraging and empowering busy career professionals like you and I to manage money intentionally. My name is Free, and you're important to me. In your 20s, you are not expected to have life figured out. As a matter of fact, there are people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s still figuring it out. Life is a constant cycle of trying to figure it out. However, what is essential in your 20s is to have as many experiences as possible, then reflect on those experiences to chart your course in life. Whether you go to college, learn a trade, go straight into the workforce, or backpack through South America, the goal is to figure out what you want to do with your life ultimately. I know this may seem like a tall task, so let's walk through it together. In your 20s, be open to opportunities that will create experiences you can learn from. Keep in mind, those experiences, good or bad, will give you data and information to mold the life you deserve. It's like making the same pizza twice. Now, for purposes of this example, our pizzas don't need cheese because I don't eat pork. The first time you make the pizza, you burn it. But through experience, trial and error, you realize the oven doesn't need to be set to 425. 385 will do. And the second time, the pizza is chef's kiss. That's life, a constant cycle of trial, error, refine, pivot, adjust, excel. Start by asking yourself questions like, what are my natural abilities, or what am I genuinely interested in? What would I do if I never made a dime from it, but it's monetizable? What type of lifestyle do I want to live? Your answers to these questions will be good launching points. Center your experiences around the answers to these questions. Remember, strategy and intention. Here's how I put it into practice. In my 20s, I realized I wanted to be a forensic accountant. Pretty random, huh? Not really if you knew how I spent my teenage years. Around 16 to 17, I started learning personal finance on my own. I was an avid reader in high school. I always had a book in my hand. And 9 times out of 10, the book would be money related. But in learning multiple lessons about budgeting, credit, I started applying those lessons to my everyday life. And one thing that really drew me into personal finance was that unlike American Lit or geometry or any of the classes that I was taking, there was a direct correlation between what I was learning in my everyday life. What I mean by that is in high school, during the summers, I would have part-time jobs. I worked at Long John Silver. I worked at Office Max. I remember taking my checks that I would make from those jobs and making sure that I budgeted my money, that I had money for savings, put a little bit to the side, always pay yourself first. That was one of the very first principles that I learned, that I had enough money for gas for my little Camry that I drove at the time, and also that I had money to hang out with my friends on the weekends. So at 16, 17, 18 years old, I was accounting for my money and making sure that it went exactly where I needed it to go. What I realized was that I was naturally good at it. I really enjoyed it. You see where I'm going? Additionally, in charting my course in life, I realized that I love watching American Greed. Now, for those of you who don't know, American Greed was a show that talked about white collar crime or fraud. I would binge watch these episodes before Netflix was a thing. I'm talking about the early 2000s. For me, it was so fascinating to see how executives committed fraud, how they were able to steal millions of dollars from the companies. And I remember sitting in front of the TV, I would be talking to the TV in awe, trying to figure out who did it, why they did it, and how they were able to do it before the episode actually ended. I was naturally interested in it. Now, little me at the time, I had no idea whether or not it was a career. I didn't know what a forensic accountant was or that was even a thing. I just knew I was building skills in accounting, right? I was good at it, naturally interested in it, and I really was fascinated by fraud. That was all that I had to go off of. I also knew that I wanted to be financially stable and comfortable. For me, that was a non-negotiable. I realized this even earlier growing up in the inner city. My lifestyle as an adult must be comfortable. So as I'm asking and answering these questions for myself, years later in my 20s, I decided to major in accounting in college because I was naturally good at it. I was fascinated by fraud, and my dean told me that I would always have a career. So the stability piece was there. Back then, I wasn't super specific. I'm young and just trying to figure it out. But I was simply using the answers to those questions to chart my course in life. Doing this puts you in the driver's seat of your life instead of the passenger seat. The goal is to leverage your natural abilities, interests, and desires to identify what you want to do. And now that you've figured out what you want to do, it's time to become profession proof. Remember when I said this? Number 2 was the most impactful. This milestone that I'm sharing is based on what I wish I would have done. Not necessarily a regret, just a lived and learned experience. Becoming profession proof is essential in your 20s, more so in your late 20s than your early 20s. Because trust me, it gets harder to skill stack as you enter your 30s. You layer on additional responsibilities like spouses and kids and passion projects and aging parents. You have less time in your daily life. Profession proof means you are intentionally building your skills, experiences, and competencies to ensure you can weather professional setbacks. Nothing is guaranteed, but take it from me, be intentional, because inevitably life may throw you professional curveballs. This will go a long way in ensuring that you can weather those curveballs when they come. Develop skills directly aligned to your career and your area of expertise. This may mean getting licenses, certifications, being part of boards in professional organizations. It may look like becoming a trusted expert, being featured in articles, journals. You want your skills and qualifications and your accolades to be so stacked that you become profession proof. And the best way that I can explain it is think of it in terms of your resume and what you will put on your resume. The skills and accolades and competencies and experiences and insights is such that your resume rises to the top. Talking creme de la creme each and every time. You're not waiting down here in the middle of the pile, or you're not here at the bottom of the pile. Most importantly, never stop learning. As someone that loves to learn, that part was easy for me. However, the one regret that I do have, and now that I'm in my 30s, is I should have gotten a critical certification that most people get in their 20s. I didn't get it for my profession, for my industry, for the job that I do. And I really wish I would have, and I should have. So what am I doing now? Over a decade after graduating college, I'm getting that certification because I didn't do the work that I should have done when I should have did it. Don't be like me. Be better than me. Okay. The key is to align your qualifications and experiences with the profession that you identified in milestone 1. Because you are intentionally becoming profession proof, this will have a key benefit of maximizing your earning potential in the short term and long term. And now that you are maximizing your earning potential, it's time to map your money. We use maps to get us to places. Google Maps, Waze, it don't matter. Similarly, your money needs to get you somewhere. We're not working for the fun of it, because 9 times out of 10 it ain't fun. No kidding. In your 20s, mapping your money is an essential milestone to achieve. Your money should go to 6 places over and over again. And yes, there is an order: savings, retirement, investments, essential expenses, debt, and non-essential expenses. In your 20s, it is essential, it is critical, it is vital, it is monumental, it is paramount to prove to yourself that you can save. Developing the discipline and insight to prepare for tomorrow, today. Now, will saving make you a millionaire? No, that's not the point of it. I'm tired of these people on TikTok, but it will reduce the likelihood that you spiral into burdensome debts. When you're starting out, the amount isn't what's most important. When I started saving as a teenager, having a part-time job, I was probably saving $25 a week. It wasn't a whole lot, but the point is to develop the habit. The point is to make it so automatic. Saving becomes just as easy as breathing. I mean that. As someone that done lived, I mean that. Here's what saving has allowed me to do. A really close relative of mine, I'm talking about super close, I'm talking about brought me into the world, suffered an emergency like medical event. And we live in 2 separate states. And having a savings allowed me to get that news. Imagine getting news that a parent of yours is suffering like a life-threatening emergency and you're not in the state to actually care for them. And you are their only child. Savings afforded me the opportunity to get onto Delta, got the news at 7 p.m. I was in that hospital 3,000 miles away by 10 a.m. the next day. That's what's, I want to get emotional. That is why I will always be, a proponent of having a savings and paying yourself first. Because when life happens, I was able to confidently book a $900 flight to a whole nother state without having to go into debt and without having to think, freak, where the hell am I gonna get this money from? It was there. Be there for my family member because I was nervous and I was scared and I was like, what the freak is gonna happen? Fortunately, they were okay. They were fine. But just those hours of not knowing, right? And imagine not knowing and still in like financially not being able to get to them, that would have devastated me. I will always be a proponent of developing a savings because what I know to be true in my 37 years of life is that life is going to life, period. And what has always been comforting to me, and there's been times when I didn't have a savings and I was like, what the heck am I gonna do? And I ran up a credit card bill, right? So I can come from that perspective as well. But in those moments where I did have savings, it was such a relief that I didn't have the craziness of dealing with whatever was happening, like the medical event, and then have to layer on top of that, the financial of like, how the freak am I gonna manage through this financially? Because one thing for certain, 2 things for sure, is those bills are always gonna be due. And they ain't gonna stop being due just because life is happening to you. So bottom line, I am a huge proponent of having a savings. That is something that you will always hear on Gay Street. You will always hear it come out of my mouth because I know what it feels like to go through things in life and have a savings and how that feels. And I also know what it feels like to go through things in life and not have a savings and what that feels like. And having to get yourself into credit card debt and being like, what the freak? My next video, as a matter of fact, is about how I got out of $15,000 of credit card debt in 8 months. So I am well versed and I come from multiple perspectives because I've lived and I've learned. Whether it's $50 or $500 a month, the key is to build a habit. Trust me, your future self will thank you. The next destination is retirement. I know your 20s, retirement may seem like so far away, but trust me, your 30s and your 40s will sneak up on you faster than you realize. I feel like time is flying. I know people say that, but I really feel like the world is spinning faster than it did when I was younger. But that's a side note. I'm not a scientist. I'm just saying. You never felt like that? Okay, anyway. Investing in your employer-provided 401k plan or something similar and a Roth IRA is essential non-negotiable for retirement. What better way to plan for the day you never have to work again, friend? Next, send your money to investment. Open a brokerage account, make monthly transfers into your investment account, then dollar cost average into investments of your choosing. Dollar cost average happens when you invest a fixed amount of money into your investment account on a monthly basis, regardless of market fluctuations. The key when it comes to investing is time in the market is better than trying to time the market. There's professionals who can't even time the market. So I wouldn't say that's the best strategy. The best strategy is to dollar cost average by buying more shares when the stock is lower, which will ultimately lower your average cost per share. So start in your 20s. The sooner, the better. And whether you choose to invest in stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, index funds, crypto, NFTs, meme coins. That's completely up to you. And similar to your savings in retirement, the key is to really build a habit of investing. What I try to emphasize with people, what I don't really hear talked about, is that you can pivot and adjust your investments, right? You can be more aggressive when you're younger and get a little bit more passive as you get older. Like, nothing is ever set in stone. You don't have to do one thing the same way year after year. You can always pivot and adjust based on what your goals are, as your goals change, as your life evolves. Like, that is okay. I can tell you how many times I've adjusted things, maneuvered things, reallocated monies and things like that as my life evolved and as my goals change, whether it be short-term or long-term. That's completely okay. The key when it comes to investing is to essentially build the habit, and you can be more aggressive or less aggressive, really build out your investment strategy as you build the habit and as you start to learn more and more about investing. If you want to become a millionaire, this is where it happens, in your investment account and your retirement accounts. The sooner you start, the higher your chances will be of becoming a millionaire. The next place you'll send your money is to essential expenses. This includes any purchase or any bill that is critical for your function as an adult. This is rent, mortgage, utilities, insurance, car, phone, internet, every bill that is required for you to be a functioning adult in society. And the key when it comes to being in your 20s is to keep this number as low as possible. One way that I kept this number low was I lived with my mom until I was like 29 years old, until I bought my home 6 months before my 30th birthday. I lived at home, partly because I was traveling a lot for work, so it really made no sense to move out, but also so that I could keep my essential expenses super low. And I did. When it comes to your 20s, like, as much as we want to adopt a consumeristic behavior, your 20s is really not the time for you to be balling until you falling, right? Like, Lord, I sound old. Okay. Anyway, it's really the time to hone in on your personal finance, like portfolio and your skill sets and your behaviors, and really get those down packed so that you can step into your 30s real comfortable financially. The key when it comes to your essential expenses is to make sure your bills are paid and to keep your bills and your expenses as low as possible, given your circumstances. I know not everyone can live at home, but whatever your circumstances may be, keep it essential when it comes to the numbers and what you're paying on a monthly basis. The fifth place your money should go to is towards your debt. Now, this may surprise you as to why it's so low on the list, but yeah, it is where it is. Period. Whether it's auto loans, student loans, credit card debt, or medical debt, the key is to keep it low. And when it comes to being in your 20s and having debt, you really want to build the habit of not taking on more debt than what your income can support, first and foremost. Now, when it comes to paying off debt, you can use either the snowball method or the avalanche method. With the snowball method, you prioritize paying off your debts from smallest to largest balance. And this is really good if you are someone that is motivated by quick wins, because the key here is to make sure that you're able to see fast wins and build momentum to keep going. With the avalanche method, what you're gonna do is pay off your debt from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Now, the key when it comes to the avalanche method is that more than likely you will pay less in interest over time because you are tackling the highest interest rate first. But what I found in my experience and with clients that I work with is that sometimes your highest interest, you get a little bit demotivated because it can also sometimes be like your, not the highest balance, but close to highest balance. So it may take actually longer for you to see that quick win. And so people get demotivated. So I'm a proponent of the snowball method. I've used the snowball method several times just because I like to cross it off, and that helps me psychologically keep going and build that momentum. But the avalanche method is really good if you're super focused on not paying a whole lot of interest or not paying more interest than what you need to. Once your debt is manageable, keep it minimal. And this will ensure you're financially flexible enough and financially agile to live life on your own terms. And the reason why I say that is because now that I'm in my late 30s and stepping into my 40s in a few years, that's wild to me. I'm really entering my 40s from the perspective of I want to be more cash dependent than debt dependent. And maybe I'll talk about that in another video, but my sole focus when it comes to what's at the top of my priority list is completely eliminating all of my debt. When I say all of my debt, all of my debt. And I have a really aggressive timeline too. But I've planned it all out and things like that. But not only that, also I want to become like really liquid when it comes to cash on hand, cash in the bank, savings, investments. So I have some really aggressive numbers with that too, but I've planned it all out. This will ensure you are financially flexible and agile to live life on your own terms when it comes to keeping your debt minimal. And it will go a long way in helping you build and maintain a healthy credit score. Usually I would tell people to shoot for a 760 credit score or higher, because that's going to put you in the best range to get really good interest rates on different things: car, home. And the final destination for your money is non-essential expenses. Notice this is last. And if you're like most people, you probably spend on non-essentials first or second. Like right after your essential bills is paid, you spend it on non-essentials. But you see the order? First of all, there's a lot more that goes in there, right? And it's also not essentials and non-essentials. Non-essential expenses are, of course, going to be your comfort purchases, your lifestyle expenses, things that make life fun and enjoyable. The key when it comes to your non-essentials is to spend what is left after you've saved, after you've invested, after you've committed to retirement, after you've paid your bills and paid down debt, because essentially doing it in the reverse is a recipe for disaster. Speaking of recipe, mapping your money is really similar to cooking. You can tell a good cook from a bad cook based on how the food tastes. And I can tell a good money mapper from a bad one based on where your money goes, in what order, and how much. And now that you've guided your money to the correct places, avoid financial pitfalls by interrupting the impulse. LeBron James and Beyonce didn't become overnight successes, okay? You know that, I know that. They spent their early years perfecting their skill, building habits and behaviors to become the greatest of all time. Beyonce started singing when she was 9. LeBron started playing basketball when he was 9. Now, we're not making money at 9 years old, at least most of us, but in your 20s, you are in financial GOAT development. You want to become the greatest of all time when it comes to managing your money. This essentially means building habits in your 20s so that you can sit back and relax in your 30s. To do this, you must avoid one bad habit that 99.9999999% of people have. And the crazy part is that humans develop this habit without even noticing it. And that is what's most detrimental, is that you're not even conscious of it. It's the lack of impulse control. We are bombarded by ads every day telling us what to buy, when to buy, hurry up and buy, 15% off, like bombarded, inundated with ads. The most important determinant of long-term success I've seen in my personal experience and in my experience in helping others become financially healthy is to interrupt the impulse. In your 20s, focus on spending money intentionally. That's the healthy habit that you want to build. Recognize when you want to buy something purely because you saw it on TikTok, or you want to be like your friends, or you have this feeling of FOMO. Really work on stopping the impulsive nature that we all have to spend money. It's not easy, but it's necessary, okay? Trust me, from experience. Speaking from experience. Have a legitimate reason why you spend. And truly pay attention to which purchases make you genuinely happy, genuinely fulfilled, and which purchases are just quick dopamine hits and the feeling fades within days or weeks. Interrupting the impulse to buy unnecessarily will help you balance living life while accomplishing financial goal status. Your 20s will be some of the best years of your life. I know it shows like that for me. 30s too, but definitely 20. Not only personally, but if done right, financially too. Since you watched this video, YouTube thinks you'll really like this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.